and you get Gwen, and you go get Bernadette, and we're going to walk through this church. Woo! It's a serious matter. It's a serious matter. Somebody might say, well, gee, you know everybody can't tap in. Whosoever is willing can tap in. Everybody ain't in the place to tap in. Whosoever, God said, if you want to be free and you want to be delivered, if you want God enough, you will come after him. That's what God, oh my God, I was having a conversation earlier today with Pastor Woodbury. We're talking about kingdom. And I said, you know, Apostle Troy always said, and this was years ago, and everybody heard her say, 10 years from now, church ain't going to look the same. And y'all remember her always saying, church ain't going to look the same. Church ain't going to look the same. And I said, you know, it's been over 10 years or whatever, and she's right, church don't look the same. But it's not the same that I thought in my mind. In my mind, when she talked about church, I was thinking, oh, everybody, you know, we're going to be really kingdom, and church is going to be kingdom. She was talking about globally and worldwide. Church don't look the same. Church is so full of syncretism. Church is so full of rhetoric and the traditions of men. She used to always say, you know, things have looked the same 50 and 40 years ago. And it does look the same in some ways of that. But now you can't tell the church from the world. The music, the sound, and anything goes. She was preparing us for now. She was telling us, y'all, church ain't going to be the same. Because she was preparing us because God needs a remnant of people who will not compromise, who will be holy, who will not be wrapped up in systems, but who will serve God in spirit and truth. She was telling us how to move in the spirit and see in the spirit, because what church looks like is the world that they just put church on the door. Kingdom. Why is your worship, why is your prayers is powerful? The Bible says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, seek my face, and turn, pray, seek my face and turn. What does it mean to seek his face? Go after him. Go after God. What does it mean to go after God? I pray, I ask, but are we doing? Turn. When he say, don't do no more, turn. As me and Pastor were talking today, I said, Pastor, God was talking to me about the good kings and the groves. When you go in the Bible, you hear this king did good in the sight of the Lord, but they did not tear down the grove. This king did good in the sight of the Lord, and they did not tear down the groves. But this king did bad in the sight of the Lord. They kept the groves. This king did good in the sight of the Lord, and they tore down the groves. So when we talk about a king, we're talking about the priest. Pastor said, yeah, there's the priest of this house, and he is the priest, and there are other priests and ministers in this house. We are the priests. But we are the priests of our own house. And God said, we're good. We do good in our houses sometimes. But sometimes we do not tear down the groves. What are you talking about, G? Hypothetically speaking, you know something is wrong. Pastor done preached about it, told us not to do it. Told us what spirits attached to it. Hypothetically, we just going to be plain and simple. Just as an example. Pastor would talk about her son and talk about that spirit that was with Omegas and all of that. Talk about sororities and fraternities. She talked about the Masons, the Eastern Stars. She taught us about the spirits that's connected. Well, we bring it in the church, and we good. But when we bring it in the church, we're saying we okay with it because we allow it to function in the church. You understand what I'm saying? So you either got three choices. One is you're ignorant of the devices and you don't know the spirits attached to it. Two, you're political and you just don't want to shake the boat. Or three, you're going to be kingdom because we ain't about being friends or foes. We on the side of God. And sometimes as kingdom people, or sometimes as humans, we ain't trying to hurt. I ain't trying to hurt nobody's feelings. No, I ain't trying to hurt nobody's feelings, but I'm trying to be kingdom. My daddy's the king. I sit beside him. That's my inheritance. So I don't have to be apologetic for what my daddy said. When we was growing up in our house and mama said, don't you go in there, we respect what mama said. We honored what mama said. We did. So why do we come to the house of God and we got to accept what the world says? Well, the homosexuals can come into church, and we have to make sure because we don't want to offend them and the LGBTQ community. And, of course, we all have them in our families, and we have to do that, and we accept them in our church. We sure do accept you in our church. You come on, we going to worship, and we going to be free. We going to be delivered. But are you going to touch the items of God? Absolutely not until you get free. Well, guess what? Neither is the whoremonger going to touch the items of God. Neither is anybody in willful sin going to touch the items of God, because it's not big sin or little sin. Because if you're going to be a good king, you can't shake hands and say, it's okay, you go ahead and direct the choir because we want to be politically correct. Because when you shake hands and you are in agreement with the activity, then you have lawfully let the devil in. But you can be a good king, but you have not torn down the groves. We were also having a conversation of, you notice when people was really in the Bible and them prophets really came with the word of God, they was ready to kill them. They was ready to put them in the fire. They was ready to ball them. They was ready to sacrifice them. They put them out of town. The church put them out of town. I don't see no churches being put out of town. We say we world changers. We say we're going to shake the foundation. We say we're going to change the generations. We say we're going to do all this. And as soon as the battle get too hot, we ready to go on somewhere and sit down. We tired and it's too much. Well, that's why God say don't be weary in your well-doing, because we're human. Even he said, can this cup pass? After he had his moment, he got up and did what he had to do. But I was just thinking about God today and just having that conversation. I said, God, to shake the foundation, what does that mean? Ooh, we had a Holy Ghost time in church. I tell you, it was a move of God. The foundations were shaking. Really? Hypothetically speaking, if the foundation, literally, of this church was shaken, what would happen? What would happen? You would see everything about crumble. You would see things fall. It would be a disruption, as our pastor has been talking about. God says, I want to bring that power to the kingdom. In fact, God said the power is already there. I want my people to understand and know what they have and use it and be confident in what it is. God said, you got the authority to speak, and it is because you are creators. Because I made you in my image. Yes, you are molded and shaken in iniquity, but I ripped the veil so you can go to the other side. But the enemy want to keep us distracted with what each other doing. And keep us distracted with a position or what's going on in the family. But God said, I need you to see me through it all. Can you see God past all these situations? That's why we got to stay in his face in prayer. That's why we got to stay in his face in worship, so we can see and hear God. God said, greater things will you do. And I remember Apostle said, greater knows where you are. But God told me, do you know where greater is? Greater can know where I am all day long. God said, greater things will you do. But do you know where greater is? What does it mean to operate in the greater? What does it mean to flow in the greater? When you are flowing in the greater, I heard Pastor was saying today, Bethel Word should be a place, yes, of signs, miracles, and wonders. But it should be our norm. Signs, miracles, and wonders. It's going to be our norm because that's where we reside. Oh, my God. I hear God said, if you only knew we know who we are to a certain extent. But God said, we really don't have a clue of who we are to the greater. Oh, maya sataya roko mayasi. To the point of, you ever thought about when Jesus walked on the porch, it was only one that could hear. That there was only one. Only one. So understand, everybody ain't going to be able to accept what God does. Understand, when the ministries went out across the world, people rejected. They don't want to hear it because guess what? When people really teach the unadulterated truth, it ain't pretty, it ain't sweet, it ain't nice. It ain't got no sugar on it. People often say, I don't like church because all they want to do is control you. They don't give you no choice. Well, God is a theocracy. He said, do all I say. Oh, but as a man with a will, sometimes we don't like to get with it. Well, God, I just think it should be. I just feel like this, that. Well, God, this a lot, and I got to process it, and that's true. We do have to process it. But God said we got to line it up. And y'all, what's on the horizon for us is huge. It's huge. So this attack that you feel, know you in the right place. Because that's why you're feeling it. Because God is setting you up so you can understand. Komayasi. As Brother Rajon and Sister Shante said, to whom much is given, much is required. God said, I need to bleed every bit of you out until you are no more. Until you are just like Enoch, no more. I need you to move in the spirit. Stay in the spirit at all times. Yeah, we got to do our jobs and all of that. But even on our jobs, we can move in the spirit. Even when they cut, we can move in the spirit in our house. And that's the place God is calling us. Oh my God, it's a serious matter. You're going to be a lighthouse. We're a beacon, we're a hospital. Well, if we're a beacon, we definitely got to have a light that's going to shine and guide and give direction. Because the lighthouse give direction. So when they come because they see the light, what direction are we giving? We're going to be a hospital. What medication are we giving? What are we giving? We got to make sure we got the right stuff. And Bethel word, God has a prepared people, and we are that. And he has given us more. So if I was you, I'm excited. I'm excited. It's a lot of hard stuff. Yeah, we cry tears. Some things we don't even understand, but we trust God. We trust God. God, I'm standing here. I see an ocean. We going to the other side. God, I ain't got no food in the house. You said, make this cake. We going to die. But you said, God, my son in the bed is dead. But you said, God, it ain't rain and all. But you said, God, he been dead for. But you said. He said, if I be lifted up. Then came back, walked the world and saved every. God said, greater. I encourage you tonight, Bethel Word. Don't be weary in your well-doing. Don't be weary. You going through, it's rough, it's hard. And as the old folks say, ain't nobody said it was going to be easy. But God said, hold on. Because I'm taking you to a greater place. But I need you to know what it is in your mind. I need your mind to really get connected with it. God said, get encouraged. That family you praying for, your prayers are not hitting the ground. That job, your ministry. Some of us are praying for ourselves. God, I don't like me. God, this stuff in me. God said, I hear you. I see you. Your prayers are not hitting the ground. God promised some of us some things in our marriages, some of things with our children. God said, continue. It's not in vain. It's not in vain. It's not in vain. And Sister Gwen, I heard this thought with God, mine, I hear that conversation. And you know the conversation I'm thinking of right now. I hear it. But God told me to tell you it's not in vain because there's a generation that came after. Komayasi, komayasi. I heard God say it. There's a generation after. So that may have happened. But God said it was not a surprise. And your prayers were not in vain. Every Sunday that Apostle called you up there and touched you and she prophesied and she said, God said that word did not fall to the ground. Abraham said, he said, your seeds would be 1,000 or whatever over the world. He had all of them seeds. Abraham had them 2 children. Well, he had more than that with his wife after she died. He got married to he got married to Ishmael's mother again. But anyway, he had more kids, but he said it would number the sands of the seas, the stars in the sky. And the promise of Abraham, and all of these generations down, still his kids. So sometimes when a word comes, you may think it's a specific element or time or space. But God said that word that you were standing and praying for and that you were still praying for, God said, don't let it fall to the ground. Don't feel like, well, God, that happened, and so maybe all of this other stuff and this right here. God said it goes down the line. You praying for a generation that you haven't even seen yet. How you standing for them children? How you stood for them grands, Elder Wiggins? How you stand for that family? God said, just because you don't see the results now doesn't mean that your prayers are in vain. There might be a grandchild that's going to be a great-grand, a great-great-grand that's going to be born 50 or 60 years down there, and your words are catching them. So you don't think it's not in vain. It's not in vain. Don't be weary in your well-doing. God said your prayer is just that powerful. Oh, my God. As the word says, for my seed and my children's children and my children's children's children, that they be blessed. That they be blessed. Notice that, again, everybody that came to change, to bring kingdom, was met with opposition. Why you think you got the opposition you got? Because the enemy does not want you to break through that garrison. He wants to limit you and to keep you at bay. But what happens when you break through? I ain't talking about just put a little hole in the fence. I say when you break, when you break, when you break, when you break, when that mindset over your family that has been taught in the generations and generations, and we wonder why everybody caught up in that loop, when it breaks, God says, I'm calling the breakers to come forth. The breakers. The spirit of limitation, that it be broken off of you. The spirit of limitations be broken. The spirit of limitation don't often want you to go but so far. It seems like every time you start something you can't get but so far. It seems like stuff just don't ever come together. It's like why it don't ever work. I get so far to fall back. God said I need a breaker to break the spirit of limitation off of you. We're going to dismantle a system. We about to find out what them pieces are. Because why we going to tear up a system and then don't know what we tear up? And then if it come back together, you don't even know why it came back together. You got to understand the pieces. Understand the pieces. Why is fear in my family? Why am I so fearful? And my fear is not trembling and shaking, but sometimes I get these anxiety attacks. I'm just talking. Don't want to be around people, but so much. I can't make these connections. I feel like I'm not good enough. And you didn't even give that to your kids, because you treat your kids with all. You give them everything. But then you see the little seeds in the kids where they're apprehensive. God said, I need a breaker. Somebody who would literally destroy every curse, not break. He said, I want you to destroy it. And the first candidate is you. First candidate is me. First candidate. And it starts here in your mind. I got to believe, God, I trust you. And this path right here may not be an easy one, but I trust you. And you got to be willing to go through.